I'm the roast master for Myriam. I've been roasting coffee for a very long time, my whole life pretty much. I'm certified by the Specialty Coffee Associations of America and Costa Rica for roasting coffee, as well as grading. So grading is one of the key elements that we do to determine a coffee being specialty grade versus non-specialty grade. When we do the grading, we start the process from the beginning, as my brother was saying, altitude, elevation, type of bean, type of plant, type of soil, the whole entire process. After that, then there's a selection process done by hand. Coffee goes into pools of water to be washed. From there, the beans that start floating and things like that get removed. And then from there it goes out into a depulper.
And I'm going to do a quick note here. We're going to put the coffee, there's going to be 2 cups for each one of you. Please keep the left one on the left and the right on the right. There's going to be a medium and a dark, that way we don't confuse them when we start doing the infusion. Sorry.
Yeah, it's very important to do that. We start with the dark roast before the light roast. You're going to have a lot of the natural beauty of the light roast. Right. But anyway, going back to processes. Okay. So once it's washed, then we go to a depulper. Depulper is a big drum, has little holes, and it removes all the pulp of the machine. The pulp gets separated. We use the pulp in our plantation as compost. So everything is composted, and that's part of the fertilizer that we use for our plantation. We also use a lot of the oranges, banana trees that we have all over the farm as part of the compost as well. We focus a lot in planting a lot of fruits, citrus, flowers, all over to give us unique flavor profile to our coffee. Coffee is like a sponge, so anything in the environment is absorbed by it. And it helps us create a very unique, again, flavor profile. So anyway, after depulping, then we go into the drying process. The drying process is done by sun. We have huge concrete slabs, gets put in there. Put a layer about 3/4 of an inch of coffee, just out there in the sun for it to dry out. After about 3 to 4 days of drying, coffee gets back in, and we go through a dehusking process. There's an actual shell. If you guys can see, it's kind of hard for you guys far away. But it's a little tiny shell that goes around the coffee bean. It's kind of like wood. That gets removed as well. And then you end up with the green coffee bean, which is this down here. Once we have that green coffee bean, we start this classification system, which is the most important part of the whole process in determining a coffee being specialty or not. So from here, we start looking at different shades of green. So when you're in the bluish greenish, if it's too blue-green, then you're going to have a problem of too much water content in the coffee beans, meaning that they were not dried good enough, or there's some problems with too much water content. When you go into bluish green to green, that's where you want to see the perfect bean. It's always going to be right between those 2 shades right there. Sorry guys, it's hard for everybody to see it, but it's going to be right around there. Once we do that process, then we start going, we take samples of 1 pound of each bag. So we separate it into burlaps, we take 1 pound, and we start looking bean by bean, every single bean. And we look for any of these defects. So you're going to see defects like a defect category 1. If we find only 1 single bean in a sample of 1 pound, the whole entire batch gets immediately disqualified as specialty coffee. So that whole burlap gets put aside and gets sold as just a regular type of coffee or grade of coffee. So category 1 defects is going to be a full black bean. These are typically beans that have been in a tree for way too long, they never fell, and then somebody picked them and they're just bad beans. They taste pretty bad. Full sour bean, it actually has an aroma or taste of rotten garbage. 1 single bean will taint easily 150 pounds of coffee. Just 1 single bean in the bag. So that's why any of these beans will have a huge impact on the entire thing. Any of this size, the category 1. Then there's also a dry cherry or pot, which is actually the coffee bean never got depulped, never got dehusked or anything like that. So it starts fermenting and it creates a very strong fermented flavor, which is bad as well in coffee. We also have fungus, a lot of fungus damage. One of the reasons why that's bad as well is because it can spread throughout the entire bag. Or again, it has really bad flavor to it. Any of the category 1, a single bean will actually affect an entire burlap flavor-wise. So 1 single bean will spread completely to the entire bag. As I mentioned earlier, coffee is a sponge, so anything around it will start getting absorbed. So it's just like a virus, it just spreads really, really fast.
Have you ever had coffee that tastes like dirty water?
Yes, yes.
It's all the fillers, that's what they use, so usually to lower the cost, they'll just use anything that is not up to par level as fillers for the coffee, so the husk, the fat beans, all the fun stuff. And then when you brew it, it's just like dirty water, it's like, ugh, disgusting, I don't know.
Well, then there's also foreign material, rocks, the sticks, the leaves from the actual trees. They're actually sold as cheap coffee for cheap producers of coffee. And then finally we have the severe insect damage. Severe insect damage has a different effect. It doesn't have any flavor. It takes away flavor from the entire thing. So in that one, it does take 5 beans for it to be considered 1 defect. But again, any of this will immediately disqualify it. Then we go into the category 2, which is going to be, it takes anywhere from 5 to 20 beans for it to count as 1 single defect. And then it takes 5 of those defects to disqualify the entire batch as a specialty grade. The reason for that is these don't really have a lot of flavor impacting, it's more a visual. So it's more of how the bean looks, and it's not perfect, it's not top quality, that's about it. But it doesn't have any of the nasty flavors that come out of this. So, once we go through this entire process of separation of beans and looking and analyzing every single bean, then we go into a single roast batch, and we look to see if the coffee roast even, if everything looks perfect. If we see anything like this, these are called Quaker beans. Quaker beans are immature or unripened beans that are not easy to notice by the eye. You can only see them when you actually roast them. They look like that. So if 1 single bean comes out of that sample, again, the whole entire batch gets disqualified as specialty coffee. But we're not done yet. After we've gone through this whole entire process, then the coffee gets sent out to a cube grader. A cube grader is the highest grade or the highest level any grader can actually achieve. There's only about 1,000 in the world. You send your sample to the cube grader. The cube grader grades the coffee below a 93, it gets disqualified. So even though you did all this stuff right, if the flavor profile doesn't meet the standards or is above the standards of your region, because again, it's all determined by region, by soil, by all these different variables. If it still doesn't meet those requirements, then again, it's still disqualified as a specialty coffee. So that's one of the reasons why only about 5% of the coffees in the world fall under the category of specialty. It's that hard to achieve that.
Like you can have a really good African coffee, but if the acidity level is not high enough, it will be disqualified. Because by definition, if it's African, it should be hitting those acidity levels. So that's what he means by depending on the region, you can still get a great coffee but be disqualified for specialty. It's kind of like the tradition of the coffee, you need to follow certain regions.
So that's what it takes really to qualify to be a specialty coffee, or like us, a specialty coffee. Now from there we actually get them back in 150-pound burlap, so it gets put in a container and shipped all the way to LA. In LA we store the coffee. We bring here to Albuquerque a week's supply, and we roast weekly. So pretty much every day we're roasting right now. You guys are more than welcome to come see one of our roastings at our facility. We'll give you guys some more information about that. But we pretty much, as of right now, we're roasting daily. We get shipments weekly. Reason for that is we have the coffee in the annex. In California, it's the largest facility with best quality standards of humidity control, temperature control, these different things that help the coffee stay at the top level. Yeah, then once we roast it here, we only roast to order. So when we get an order, for example, from Los Poblanos, we'll roast it 2 days before, we'll let it degas, bag it, and bring it over here. So the coffee you guys are usually drinking here will only be 2 to 3 days from roasting. So try to keep it all as fresh as possible and top quality as possible. And that's going to be the same in any of our locations that we sell our coffee.
Okay, so 2 things. One, the water that I put in there is not for you guys.